Good morning and welcome to week 7 of the Hearthstone Legendary Series. This is where it comes down to. We're in the second to last week where one player once again will get a spot to the $20,000 LAN finals happening later in February. My name is Frodan and today I'm joined once again by Raynad, who is a special guest commentator for yesterday's pre-open finals. Now we have the match day. Andre, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to see the games today. Should be some awesome matches. Got a pretty sick lineup. Probably the most exciting week of ESL we've seen so far. So,
Yeah,
looking forward
I
to it.
completely agree. Last week was very fun because we got to see another open player make a very deep run and go all the way. We had Magic Amy from Tempo Storm able to grab that seat. I know you were very excited because it was an all Tempo Storm finals with Hyped versus Magic Amy. This week around, I'm expecting equivalent amount of hype and excitement because we have a great lineup of players. Let's take a look at the bracket to see what we can expect for today.
Yeah, it looks like we've got Savjz and ColeMTG for the first set of the day. ColeMTG is one of the players that qualified yesterday. Then it's going to be Hyped versus Zalay. And Zalay, of course, we've seen for several weeks here, originally making it through as a qualified player. And really making a name for himself here in the Legendary Series so far. We've got Strife Crow versus Ping Ping Ho. Ping Ping Ho is the other player who qualified yesterday in the qualifier tournament, and Strife Crow, of course, needs no introduction. And then for the final match, we're going to have a Moz versus Flybird. So yeah, just a pretty amazing lineup, a lot of well-known players, a lot of players really making a name for themselves through qualified events. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the games.
Yeah, we have 4 players in each of the quarterfinals where they have an established name and brand, and then you have another person that's challenging them that we'll just label as the unknown. Maybe they have some fans already based off of their previous play, but for the most part, they come in here as a wild card. No one knows how Flybird or Ping Ping Ho will fare off against 2 of the most winning players in Hearthstone, and of course, Savjz and Hyped. They're no slouches. They're the ladder heroes, and of course, trying to fight for that spot in the finals here. Because remember, one person goes directly to the seeded. If you win one round and to place top 4, you do get points, but more importantly, you get an invite to next week to try again. We have 2 spots already locked up with Dark Wanix and Magic Amy, and we'll have 2 more to give out in week 7 and week 8. Which brings us to our next point, by the way. If you guys are interested at all in signing up for the Open Cup, we have it every single Sunday, and this coming Sunday is probably the last one, though. It's at 3 p.m. Pacific. If you want more details to sign up, or if you want to find out more about our previous history, because it's 6 weeks in, you can check out esl.gg/legendary series. Andre, you said you're going to sign up for tomorrow's event?
Yeah, I'm going to play in the one tomorrow. Yeah. See how I do.
So maybe a chance to match up against your favorite pros. I know Reynad's not the only one. I know some guys from Archon or the new Nihilum team. I think I'm saying that name right. They're going to be signing up for the Cup too because everyone wants a chance to qualify for the event. You get a paid trip to California and you get to compete for $20,000 in prize pool. It's really good stuff. Really good stuff. It's also free and open too. That's really nice. And part of the reason why we can keep these things going on, like why we can have the Open to be free and why you can participate, is to thank you to our sponsors. They're the ones making it happen, and they support us. And so you can support them by checking out the link here at esl.gg/Newegg Esports with Crucial, Western Digital, and even Cooler Master Gear. You can check out all this stuff through the Newegg promotions. And also, a new sponsor has joined us too in Plantronics. They give out cool headsets with Rig, and they're also giving away Hearthstone booster packs. You can find out more throughout our commercial breaks. We'll have some graphics to show you how you can win some cool stuff inside the game. And with that, our first match of the day, like you mentioned, Andre, will be ColeMTG versus Savjz. Now, I know it's been a while since we've seen Savjz been able to make a really good run. I think he had State Story Cup at the end of last year, but even then, it was more of rocky results, right? It's always been like Savjz is one of these players who either goes super far or just exits in the first round.
Yep.
What are you feeling about him today, based off of just intuition here?
I mean, I haven't seen him play in a while, but ColeMTG definitely has momentum behind him. You know, he made it pretty far in the tournament yesterday. So, yeah, Savjz is very high variance in terms of how well he does. Some days he'll do great. Some days just gets eliminated immediately. So, we'll see. Really up in the air, I'd say. But I guess I got to give... I'm gonna vote for the up and coming ColeMTG. I'm gonna give him my vote. I think he's got momentum behind him. He played pretty well yesterday, and yeah, we'll see how that pays off. But of course, experience has a lot of value too. Savjz could easily win as well. It really is up in the air.
It's experience, but it's also a new format too. You might be confused as to why we already know which classes are the first 3 matches, but we have Druid versus Druid, Warrior versus Warrior, and then Warlock versus Mage in the first 3 games.
Yeah, so every player brought 3 different decks of different classes, and they started off by just giving us an order that they're going to play those classes in without knowing what order the opponent picked. So those first 3 games are going to be Druid versus Druid, Warrior versus Warrior, and then Warlock versus Mage. And for the 4th and 5th game, to finish off the best of 5, if needed, assuming somebody doesn't 3-0, that will just be blind pick for the last 2 games. So completely up to whatever class the players feel like playing for the last 2 games. So there won't be any bans, nothing like that. All decks are available.
No
so.
elimination.
Mhm.
So it's like if you lose with the deck, you can bring it back in the blind pick. Or if you win, you can switch to. It's no obligations. And we've been seeing some mixed results overall. I think generally we're pretty happy with how things are. And the most important thing is that as Season 2 comes around, we're open to change too. So send us some feedback. Let us know at ESL Hearthstone. Or you can let Andre or me know on Twitter as well, at Froden or at Andre Yanyuk. And I think we're going to be getting ready for our first game. Now, it's Druid versus Druid, and we saw yesterday Cole brought a ramp Druid that was pretty slow, had a lot of big legendary minions with big taunts, like the Ancient of Wars and the Hearthvods. Today, I'm not sure if you'll mix it up. I feel like if you bring something the day before the tournament, it's really powerful to switch because people feel like you will bring the same thing. But at the same time, I think it's something to be said that you didn't practice much with it. So like the night before you switch, it would be a little bit difficult to transition, I think, in playstyle.
Yeah, he seemed comfortable with that ramp Druid deck. He decided to play that in a lot of the blind pick games, so there it is. Bringing it back. Still not sure which version of Druid Savjz is playing. Those
Right.
are all cards that you can see in pretty much any version of Druid. This matchup usually comes down to draws, basically. I mean, whoever gets Wild Growth is at a huge advantage. It's very tough to beat that if one player has Wild Growth and the other doesn't, so... Spectator client's going to load up. We're not going to see the mulligans just yet until they're both... There we go. Alright, so we got Innervate Shredder, Druid of the Claw Lore. Innervate's good, but... I mean, with that draw in and of itself, it's just going to have a lot of turns where he hero powers. So Cole's going to look for... or hope to draw something like Wild Growth.
Well, Savjz does pick up that Wild Growth.
Yeah, Savjz's hand is much better, I would say.
Well, he's going to be able to basically play
Ooh.
anything after turn 2. Now,
That's
double Innervate.
Big pickup.
Yeah, with the Ancient of Lore. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like his choice to just play the Shredder here.
Okay. I was assuming a turn 2 Ancient of Lore would have been pretty strong too, or even turn 3 to curve it out, but Pilot Shredder, early damage, pretty strong.
Yeah, turn 1 Shredder, turn 2 nothing, turn 3 Druid of the Claw is probably what's going to happen here. Basically, he's saying, you know, if Savjz wants to Wild Growth, it's going to cost him 4 life because he can't Wrath the Piloted Shredder and Wild Growth. So he wants to get that out as soon as possible. Now it's up to Savjz. Decide what to go with. He's considering innervating his own Shredder. That makes sense because then turn 3 he could Wild Growth, which would give him a turn 4 Druid of the Claw. And he's going to opt to just Wild Growth instead. Save the innervate. It's going to cost him a lot of life though.
Well, it's assuming that his opponent is playing some combo to finish it out. You know, what if this ramp druid is so slow it doesn't have any force of natures, no savage roars, and the pressure is almost meaningless? If Savjz can know that, right? There's no guarantee. But if he does his research and say, well, you know, yesterday I saw Cole's games, and if this really is a ramp druid, then I don't really interpret it as having that combo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he definitely might be more willing to take early damage because of that. Alright, Shredder's going to keep getting in for 4. This is the thing with holding on to Innervate. The longer you wait to play it, the less of an impact it has. So he opted to not play the turn 2 Shredder. And now this Innervate doesn't have too much use. I mean, next turn it's probably going to get a Shade out, which is pretty good.
Yeah?
I'm going to guess this is just fast Druid. We see some ramp Druids play Shade and X-Ramus, but the fact that he has Loatheb and Shade makes me think it's just a standard fast Druid of Spectral Knight from Savjz.
And again, Druid becoming one of those more popular classes in tournaments. No one's playing Fatigue Druid. That makes me a little sad, Andre. Have you played that at all? You played that at all, right?
A little bit. I
Yeah.
tested it out. Yeah, it's alright.
It's fun, isn't it?
For one person.
Yeah, for you. The one playing it, right?
If I'm winning.
Well, Cole doesn't have a very clean play here. Either he floats a mana or he has to use swipe suboptimally here.
Yeah, talk about a mirror match. Both players have identical boards, and attacking is pretty bad for Whichever player ends up attacking, honestly. I think we're just going to see a big game Hunter and no attacks. That seems like the best play to me. If you attack with both minions, you're basically letting Druid of the Claw deal 8 damage. Whereas if you don't attack at all, it's only going to output 4.
Well, he evaluates after he attacks with a Pilot Shredder. Yikes. That's a lot of damage being dealt by the Druid of the Claw.
Yep, he was going to opt to do that.
And
Force
that's
of
a
nature.
perfect force of nature.
Yep.
2-2-2. And Savjz is finally commanding the board position despite Cole having 2 innervates. And there's no turn 5 play, at least lined up yet, for Cole.
Yep, he's definitely going to regret that decision, I think, to attack.
Ugh.
Ancient of War picked up. It's not exactly what he wants. The big question is, does Savjz play Black Knight? Because it's a card we see time to time in Druid decks, and, you know, against Ramp, it's just...
Oh,
Wow. There we go.
yikes. After the Dr. Boom has been played.
Yeah.
Alright. Mind control tech off the top.
He already played a big game Hunter, too.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, this does not look great for Cole. He's going to have a very hard time getting back into this game.
He's just going to be taking so much damage. He already saw a Force of Nature, so he's aware of what his opponents can do damage-wise. 4 damage, about pretty much the most average result you can get here.
Yep.
2.5, of course, being the actual average. Shade with Lotheb is probably the best combination that you can have with the Shade in the mid game, just because then they can't respond to it.
Yeah, he even drew the Savjz to finish the game off next turn.
Well, can he get past this Ancient of Lore pretty easily? Pretty sure he can. He's got Swipe too for damage as well. So if he swipes the face, pushes with Dr. Boom,
It's lethal.
that is lethal right there.
Alright, well, Savjz is going to get out to a 1-0 lead against Cole. Off the back of fast Druid. Druid games do tend to play themselves, but I feel like there's that one decision where Cole attacked into the Druid of the Claw that he could have just passed instead.
Right.
Might have been better. Still tough to win with Dr. Boom draw from Savjz, though.
Right, and not to mention he had 2 turns, or even 3 turns, where he actually had really nothing to do.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's just the Druid deck is really about curve, and the fact that he had 2 or 3 turns of inactivity, or basically nothing to do, just gave Savjz so much time because he was able to load up more pressure and ultimately draw the cards he needed to win.
Yeah, it's because of that lack of wild growth, too, like we mentioned in the beginning of the game. Savjz had wild growth, Cole didn't, so that's going to give Savjz just a much easier time with using his mana every turn. None of those awkward hero power pass turns. But, yeah, I think we're going to get to a Warrior Mirror for the second game, is that right?
That's right. It's going to go Warrior versus Warrior, and we've seen some really greedy anti-Warrior or anti-control Warrior decks in the past from Cole. Is that going to be coming out here for Savjz too? It does depend a lot on your read on the metagame, and I know these players, they're talking a lot about what the decks they see commonly in this tournament. They say we see a lot of Handlock, we see a lot of Warrior, and we see a lot of Druid, and Warrior has to be well equipped for all these classes. These are probably the 3 of the most common we see.
Yeah, I'm surprised that we see so little aggro in these tournaments, Most people who bring Warlock end up going with Handlock. We're not seeing a lot of Mech Mage or anything like that. Just a lot of defensive decks.
We see Savjz. We saw a Mech Mage yesterday too.
That's true. Just the one, though.
Right. Just the one.
I
I mean,
like
how
this.
many refined aggro decks are there though out there in
2.
Hearthstone? There's
Mech Mage and Zoo. That's it.
Face Hunter doesn't count.
It's not refined yet. After GVG, it's been struggling to find an identity, I think. But it's a fine deck, just not as good as the other 2 right now.
Sure. Well, it didn't work out necessarily for Ant yesterday, who was playing the Face Hunter too. He ended up getting eliminated by Cole, I believe. And here we go into game number 2, Warrior versus Warrior. Oh man, this one can go for a long time. It also could end really quickly. It really does depend on these early game draws and how they end up panning out.
It's a good mulligan for Savjz. Keep the Despite, put the other 3 back.
Oh boy, I don't really like Cole's hand.
Cole's hand is, yeah.
Are we having them backwards? Maybe Savjz is the hand that we don't like.
Looks like that is Cole's hand up top. All right.
So he plays a Whirlwind. Is he the one who also played 2 Whirlwinds?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
The nice thing about the Warrior Mirror is that you don't really need a nice opening hand, as long you have plenty of time to just hero power and pass. Not going to be any pressure or anything you have to really deal with for a while. Yeah, both players just throwing out shield blocks, taking their time with it. Harrison being picked up early from Savjz is a very big deal. Harrison's one of the best cards in the matchup if you draw it early. If you draw it late game, then a lot of times it doesn't make sense to play it because it'll make you fatigue just one turn sooner.
Right.
And at that point it's hurting more than it helps. But drawing it early is exactly when you want it. It even kills Sludge Belcher and stuff like that on curve.
Yeah, especially if you can disarm a Death Spite charge, so that way you can protect future drops like Shield Maiden. The damage done by Harrison plus the card advantage often is one of those really big swingy cards. You look at Black Knight, you look at Big Game Hunter, and Harrison Jones could definitely be up there with momentum swinging cards.
Absolutely. We're just going to see some more hero power and passing from Cole.
Yeah.
Nothing really proactive to drop there. Alright, Armorsmith gives Savjz something to do. He didn't really want to throw out Despite.
Right.
So definitely, it doesn't seem like an exciting draw, but it's better than nothing. Gives him a play. And no Despite from Cole. It's going to make that pretty tough to kill. Alright.
It's a Warrior Mirror, alright.
Yeah, Resident Sleeper. Well, Acolyte of Pain gets picked up. I guess he could drop that. Cycle a Whirlwind later on, but he doesn't actually have one yet. I wonder if he does play Whirlwind. We're starting to see at least one in most Warrior decks.
I think it's just a pretty good utility, generally speaking. Not only does it allow you to draw off the Acolyte and be able to do 1 damage, which is pretty annoying sometimes, especially if you're reaching for some of those 5 health minions. It also activates, you know, the Gromosh sometimes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Harrison, great draw here. It's going to, just like you mentioned, take out the Despite on 1 shard, which is going to protect the 5 health minions. It's very important in the Warrior Mirror. If you can force them to use Executes on your Shield Maidens and Shield Slams on your Sludge Belchers, that kind of stuff, it's definitely a big victory. So I think we're going to see an Execute Shield Maiden here, something like that. Maybe just a Dr. Boom.
Dr. Boom would go down pretty easily, it looks like, but
It gets a lot of value if the Boombots have a creature to hit. You don't really want to drop it on an empty board as much.
yeah.
And
Yeah, I hear you.
even if he did drop it on an empty board, he could... Like, it's very unlikely that Dr. Boom lives to attack anyway. Can die to Shield Slam, Execute, Big Game Hunter. He's going to have one of those cards in hand.
Yeah. I mean, this matchup oftentimes is just a removal fest. That's why armor stacks pretty highly for both players. And there are so many ways to deal with this. It depends on how Cole wants to line it up. Do you value any removal over another, whether it's Shield Slam or Executes in this matchup?
Depends on the board state, but usually Shield Slam is better because you're almost always going to have enough armor to enable it with Shield Maiden now. Execute's a little bit harder to get mileage out of, I'd say. So I guess it's a good chance we see a Whirlwind Execute here. The awkward thing about that is you'd have no other play.
Yeah, the mana. Alright, pretty reasonable bombs.
Yeah, not what Cole wanted to see. He was hoping to get lucky, have Harrison live there. Didn't pan out that way. I think we're definitely going to see an Execute, especially considering he has 2 of them and only 1 Shield Slam. And what he should do here is play a Fiery War Axe and attack. But I don't think he will.
Well, because he has 2 of them, right? So
Yeah, well, a lot of players. Oh, he is doing it.
Ooh.
Oh, I see. He's not attacking. Yeah, that's going to open him up to getting Harrison. It's just, you definitely want to just use War Axe to knock out 6 armor in the Warrior Mirror, especially if you have 2 weapons. Because there's basically no good targets to kill with it, right? You can kill Acolyte of Pain and you can kill Slime tokens, and that's about the best you're going to do with it. Cruel Taskmasters sometime.
Right, or it could be that final push where if you're trying to actually threaten to be aggressive, but it's rarely that case.
Yeah, Despite picked up. It's pretty good. Harrison's already been played, so Despite is going to be able to kill a 5 health minion.
It's true, but pretty decent mileage already. Wow, looks like Savjz was already hovering over another minion. Not really sure. I think the Acolyte of Pain behind the Sludge Belcher is exactly what he wants anyways, so he can keep drawing cards.
I mean, that is going to give him a card to draw after Cole kills Belcher, but I don't think that's that bad for Cole, even though it feels like he's getting 2 for 1 by Acolyte, because it's getting to the point where the player's going to have a very hard time killing each other. Like, giving Savjz an extra card might benefit Cole more than it hurts him.
For the fatigue match?
Exactly, because it's a very good chance it comes down to that at this point. I'm a big fan of just slamming Alexstrasza on curve. So what I would do here is attack the Belcher and then play Alexstrasza.
Alright, well he is attacking and see what he evaluates afterwards. He also does have cute plays, like you can make your opponent overdraw as well with the cool Taskmaster, but it doesn't seem like it'd be a good follow-up anyways, unless you wanted to...
That is actually pretty good.
You think so? I always feel like overdrawing on opponents is highly overrated.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. In a Warrior Mirror, it's like at its best. But, see, I don't like this play. I would have definitely played Alexstrasza. It's not going to do anything better than deal 15 damage, so...
Which is pretty good still in its own.
Yeah.
Well, I think Savjz can take his own Shield Maiden and start loading up the board.
This is a case also where I would have executed instead.
As...
Save the Shield Slam.
Oh, okay, as Savjz.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, he does have a cool Taskmaster and Whirlwind, so those are two activators if he needs to. But I guess he can just evaluate based off of keeping it. Because Shield Slam, like you said, does scale pretty well into late game, but there are some times where you don't have the case. Like, for example, Cole wouldn't have a very strong Shield Slam against some of the bigger minions if he kept using his weapon.
Alright, Sludge Belcher comes down. It's going to go back to Savjz. It's always nice to play a Belcher when they don't have a Deathbite up. Savjz gets the first Alex down. That's pretty nice because you get the 9-mana card just out of your hand. Right. A lot of times if you fall too far behind, you don't have time to play it, which is why I'm a big fan of getting it out as soon as possible.
What's also wild is Savjz, just look at his card advantage, just sheer how many cards ahead he is.
Yeah.
He's got to put basically a full hand, and Cole's working at half the resource count.
I mean, if Savjz can leverage that into lethal damage before it comes down to fatigue, that will be an advantage for him, but...
Alright, if it stalls out, he actually will be taking a lot more damage.
Yeah. So this is the awkward thing now. Cole has a handful of big expensive creatures because that one turn, he decided not to play Alexstrasza. Had he played Alexstrasza that turn, he would have a Shield Maiden in his hand this turn instead, and he could develop a 5/5. So it was like a small decision that made his draw play out a lot more awkwardly than it needed to. It's going to be a great Baron Geddon here for Savjz. That's the best you can hope to get out of that card.
Yeah, not to mention it's again another threat on the board. It's a lot of damage, and I don't see an easy way to remove it. I still don't. That's still very expensive to pay that much life. Because now you're starting to get to the point where you're worried about how much health you have. You're going to be shredding the remains of your armor. Yikes!
Is he dead? Is that a Deathbite in play?
I think that's a cool Taskmaster.
What weapon does Savjz have? A War Axe?
Oh, I thought you were saying the last draw he had. Yeah, it's a Fiery War Axe, so he has 15 damage right now.
I think we're going to see an attack here and then just playing the Deathbite. That's what I would do.
With the Shield Maiden?
Yeah.
Would you not want to attack with the Deathbite so that way you can get... Oh, actually, you have a cool Taskmaster. Doesn't really matter. Yeah.
I can take the hit.
Yeah,
you're right. Shield Maiden can take the hit. Savjz does go with that play. And this game looks very, very tough to win for Cole at this point. I don't see how he's going to come back from being this far behind. I mean, now he has to Alexstrasza himself. He's getting like half value out of it because it's only a 5 or a 6-point life swing instead of a 15-point one.
Right. Unless he wants to go fishing for something else. And that's just very unguaranteed. So the only play at his disposal is to attack into the Shield Maiden.
The only thing he could draw off this is Shield Block, I think, to live.
Shield Block into Shield Block number 2.
Oh.
Well,
wow.
I mean...
That was the only card, I think, that would have kept him alive.
No,
if it even
still...
did.
Isn't he dead still?
16? No, not quite. Savjz can deal... Or no.
You can do 16 this turn.
Oh, my bad. I thought it was a War Axe in play, but yeah, he just played the Deathbite.
Yeah. It's like, it doesn't really matter. Like, he needed Shield Block into a second Shield Block.
Yeah, but he already played one.
He already played one. There's no way for him to survive unless he was able to gain 1 more HP, and Savjz is up 2-0.
Yeah.
And that card advantage is too much.
Yeah, it's a he's very far ahead. This might not even get down to the blind pick stage, honestly. Savjz wins the next game, it could be over right there as a quick
Right.
3-0.
Mage versus Warlock. And Cole brought Zoo yesterday, right?
Yeah, this is a matchup that it entirely depends on which version of Mage and which version of Warlock they're playing. Right. Mage and Warlock are the two classes where it's really impossible to tell. We see a lot of different versions of each. Some people play Mech Mage, some people play Freeze Mage, Control Mage, Mid-Range Mage.
Fatigue Mage.
Fatigue Mage, yeah. That would be ambitious. Yeah, Warlocks.
If he brings Fatigue Mage, I'll be so happy. Because I saw him playing around with it on stream a little bit past couple days. If he brings it, I think Savjz, you're my hero.
And yeah, Warlock, of course, well known as a class that can have multiple different builds. Zoo Handlock, Demon Lock. I'm sure it is going to be Zoo or Handlock almost always. But yeah, if it's Zoo versus Mech Mage, then Zoo is heavily favored, something like 80%, I'd say. If it's like
wow, that one-sided, you think?
Yeah. Zoo is just the best aggro deck at beating aggro decks. And at that point, so yeah, if it's that matchup, Zoo would be favored. But it might be Freeze Mage versus Zoo. It might be Freeze Mage versus Handlock.
Right.
If it's Freeze Mage versus Handlock, then
like
Mage is favored.
Echo Mage or something weird. Because Echo Mages have become more popular, especially last week when we saw Show bring it. And it had some like good games, and of course it had some games where he drew Echo and nothing on the board. So it was just like one of those weird scenarios. Let's find out what it is.
Freeze Mage. No. Polymorph. Polymorph is not a Freeze Mage
Giants
card.
Mage? Because Giants Mage has like a lot of one-offs, so like you have one Doomsayer, one Explosive Sheep, and then you have a Polymorph to remove.
Polymorph is not a card we generally see. I mean, it's some sort of defensive mage, we know that. Explosive Sheep, Doomsayer. Might be Giants, might be Freeze. It's just Control Mage with Doomsayer, that's what this is. It might be kind of like Hyped Mage thing.
Yeah. I don't know, it's still a little bit weird to say. I wonder if it's Fatigue Mage.
Oh yeah, maybe it is.
That'd be so sick.
No, it probably is, right, isn't it? Because Duplicate.
Duplicate and the Antique Heal bots. The way you can tell it's a Fatigue Mage is through Death Lord. That's how you can find out for sure it's a Fatigue Mage. If it's not, it can just be Giants Mage that has like Molten Giants, and then as soon as you drop Molten Giants, you have Duplicate, like a heal and like a Sun Fury.
If Cole draws a Leper Gnome, he wins the game right now. Oh my god! Oh my god. That doesn't look exciting, Dan, but that just won the game. On the spot. GG. And by won the game, I mean Explosive Sheep's still probably going to wreck him. What are you doing with your life? Oh my god.
You could have killed the Doomsayer.
Oh my god.
Okay, so the play was to draw Leper Gnome. Alright, Raynat actually has left the couch. The Leper Gnome and the Abusive Sergeant was 7 damage.
I'm just so sad. It's not a particularly complicated deck to play. You play Flame Imp, and then you hit him in the face for 3, and you repeat until that life total is 0, at which point you've won the game. But no.
You're right.
Some people play Nerubian Egg.
Well, because I think he was enticed by the
turn 2 4/4.
Right. It's like, oh yeah, it's like this dies and I get a.
Maybe that was better. I don't know. I like saving Egg against Freeze Mage because it's like the way they beat you is their AoE spells, and Nerubian Egg is protection against that.
Well, I mean, this is now a Flame Strike capability with 2 Explosive Sheeps out here. Unless he wants to reduce damage immediately, because he would be taking 10 health already. That's still pretty scary.
Maybe you just back-to-back ping your sheep.
Yeah. Maybe even Antique Heal bot and hope that he trades into it. Because you do have Duplicate up. After you Antique Heal bot, you have 2 AoEs to follow it up, unless he has Loatheb.
Yeah. I think we're going to see a life tap Leper Gnome. Abusive here. Yep, no better 2-drop drawn. So it's going to be a very good second sheep.
That's probably the best scenario he could have afforded. There's no death rattles like Haunted Creeper, so the damage will stop for 1 turn.
I wonder if he plays Loatheb in Zoo. It's a card that a lot of people don't play for some reason, even though I feel like it's a better 5-drop than Doomguard.
Right.
But yeah, that's pretty much your best card against defensive mage decks. Savjz, I feel like Savjz is pretty far ahead at this point. He's got Heal Bot. It just seems like such
a Heal Bot and then Duplicate, and then AoE to shut down anything that comes out.
Yeah.
That Owl would have been really nice to have if he had it on turn 1 or turn 2.
Yeah, exactly. So unlucky they didn't have Owl. If only there was some other way he could have dealt with Doomsayer.
Yeah, if only. Alright, so I think it's Freeze Mage. Wait, no, that still could be Fatigue. Fatigue Mage runs Cold as well.
I'm pretty sure it is Fatigue Mage.
That's sick, man. If he wins with Fatigue Mage, I think Reddit will explode. He's gonna kill it.
Wow! Oh my god! Oh.
2 anti-Kyo bots. You know what? I think it also has a lot to do with unfamiliarity. I wonder how well versed Cole is against this deck.
Yeah.
That's a great draw, Sludge Belcher. There's one thing that could have been better than duplicating anti-Kyo bots. It would have been the Sludge Belcher.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you never proc the duplicate, that's probably the right way to play against. What is it called? Fatigue Mage.
Yep.
That's got to be the right way to go. At that point, they just won't have the resources to keep up with your threats, most likely.
Oh man, he's lining up for really strong AoE pushes. I guess it does make it harder because of the Nerubian Egg. Or
I guess duplicate and echo work well together, right? Because if you ignore the duplicate, then they echo
exactly.
you. Okay.
And what's really fun about that combination too is that you can bounce back from having like 2 cards in your hand to like 9 pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
If you time it correctly, the duplicate is forced because of Sludge Belcher, and then you play it and then Echo Medivh and you get 4 more cards. It's pretty wild. And Savjz all of a sudden, once upon a time, he was down to 10 health, back up to the mid-20s here, with no sign of slowing down. And this deck is also so well equipped at defeating defeating aggro with AoE, that sometimes it doesn't have to go to Fatigue, because you just have like Deathlords and Sludge Belchers just whacking them for like 5 damage, and they can't actually kill your minions. Oh, that's a cool twist. Alright, so Illuminator, it synergizes with the secret, more life gain. I wonder if he took a Deathlord out for Illuminator.
Yeah, so Flame Strike's going to clear up the board. These implosions are not at their best against more defensive decks like this. He needs a Doomguard. Oh, there you go. I'm not sure if you play it though. Probably better to just Direwolf right now.
Right. Save up the Doomguard for the burst from the hand. Will it matter though? Jeez. Savjz has just so much time on his hands.
Yeah, not the best Kona Cold, but definitely good enough here.
Nah, that's fine as long as, as long as you're safe and you're not going to be too worried on the board. He's got Polymorph for any big threat too, like this Doomguard.
Yeah, I would have liked to see a life tap first here, because I think he's going to do it anyway.
Oh, Implosion also makes a lot of sense. Blizzard's going to ruin his day though.
I don't think there's a reason to drop that, is there?
Other than just damage, but Undertaker dies so easily to everything. Especially if you know this deck has AoE. That's just so painful again.
Yeah, pretty great Blizzard here.
Blizzard just also effectively did an extra 2 damage to the opponent because of another forced life tab. So, yeah. I mean, Cole's gonna kill himself at this stage.
Definitely. Yeah. Do we see the defender first, or do we see discarding it and then life tap after?
I think defender first, right? There's no point tapping.
Yeah. You don't want to take more damage. Alright, Doomguard gets in for 5.
That's all he's ever going to get.
Yep. Eats a Polymorph, and Belcher, I think, is going to come down here. Does this mage deck play Mad Scientist?
No, because I think the only secrets you have is duplicate.
Oh, okay.
2 duplicates is what you have, and I believe Otter and Freshka even recommend against control decks you keep duplicate because you often need it as a way for card draw, so that way you can really outlast them.
Alright, Clockwork Gnome comes down. It's interesting to note that Cole's playing Clockwork Gnome and Leper Gnome.
Right. Sometimes you see one or the other. And this is what I was talking about, like, at one point, you don't necessarily have to fatigue, it's just you outlast and outcard your opponent so hard that at one point you might just kill your opponent with a lot of these smaller attack minions because he's powerless to do anything.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see Time Rewinder here.
Defender.
Yeah.
What does that really do, though? Guess it just makes you live a little bit longer. He's afraid of playing the Flamer because he might just put himself within killing range. He'll have 5 health remaining.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Is there a lethal here? I think so. Oh, definitely with Blizzard now. So that's going to wrap up the series. And Savjz very quickly 3-0s Cole and advances to the semifinals.
Yeah, super unexpected. That's the first 3-0 I've seen in ESL so far, between yesterday and today, I guess.
I think yesterday we saw 3-0, didn't we?
No.
We did?
No,
Everything went to game 4?
Yeah, from what I remember.
Well, I mean, usually there's a matchup that you can win the first 3 games that you usually have, at least if you bring a balanced lineup. But he got 2 class mirrors and then ends up getting a matchup where he had a very good early start if he had the opportunity to kill the Doomsayer, but it didn't work out that way.
Yep.
And what do you know, man? Fatigue Mage. I was talking on Twitter. I was actually blasting a few players that said, I wish players weren't such wussies and they'd bring cool, unique decks to tournaments. And Savjz delivered.
Yeah.
He's my hero.
Yeah, definitely a change of pace for
My
ESL
boy.
here. It's
I
a deck
like
we
it.
see on ladder a lot. It's a deck we've seen all over Reddit for the past month, but I'm glad to finally see it in a tournament. It's a one.
Good stuff. Let's take a look at the bracket to see where we currently sit. Savjz advances to await the winner of Hyped versus Zolay. I think that's a match that you're looking forward to as well.
Yep, not biased at all on that one. Yeah, should be fun to see.
Yeah, I know you're really pulling in for Zolay there. And of course, we do have Strifego versus Ping Ping Ho and Amaz versus Flybird. That's going to wrap up our quarterfinals before we go into the semis. That series was brought to you by our proud sponsors over at Newegg Esports on the ESL's website. If you go and check out all the cool products, whether it's just the storage or memory, or if you want to support esports as a whole, you can go check out the Western Digital Crucial and Cooler Master gear. Also, a big thank you to Plantronics for some good headsets that they've helped out with. I use it for my work. It's really good stuff, especially since I do a lot of Skype calls. And Skype is pretty much how our industry functions, so a good headset is absolutely necessary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys want to just support the scene in general, it's always good to just check out those links during breaks and stuff. Yeah, maybe find something you like. Usually better prices than usual. Well, I guess we're going to break, and then...
I mean, it was really quick. I wasn't expecting it to be this fast, but we will take a break, and when we come back, we're going to have Hyped versus Zolay coming up on the stream.